Welcome back to part 2 of Gate 19. This is the shadow or misaligned aspect of this gate. This is how codependency might show up for you. Now, codependency isn't always about being codependent on a person. Sometimes it's codependent on a job, in an environment. It's about being codependent on a behavior or a reactive pattern or a belief system or a perception of reality. It's all being codependent on, who you think you're supposed to be in this life or who you're supposed to be for other people. And so I'm going to give you a little example of kind of what I'm experiencing. And again, our belief systems, our perception of reality is all formed in our childhood. It's things that we were taught that we had to do and be in order to survive and adapt and do whatever we got to do to get through our childhood and feel safe and accepted and loved and all those things, right? It's the subconscious narrative. And I feel like codependency becomes a thing when we've either given our power away to something too much or for too long, or that something has outlived its usefulness to us, but we're still attached to it because it feels familiar. Okay, so that could be a belief system about something. That could be a person in your life. It could be a relationship. It can be an environment or a job. It can be any of those things that you're codependent on. And the shadow is going to show up in a way that makes you irritable and uncomfortable. And it's not always like, let's say, because I noticed in the past couple of days, like yesterday and today, that in my innocence and whatever, I rubbed people the wrong way. My codependency is being codependent on who I am to them and thinking I need to fix that. But I don't. I had a huge reconciliation. I might do a video on that. But the whole thing is like, and it's not necessarily that I'm the problem for these people, but maybe whatever belief system I have or whatever it is they're doing that's made them reactive to me, maybe that's something they're codependent on. I don't know what that looks like for each person, but it's going to show up as a way of being needy or needing something or someone or an experience in order to try and feel better because you don't feel right about something. And we'll get to sensitivity in part 2. Or it's about rejecting and pushing away as if that other thing, kind of cutting it off so it can't hurt you. It's a very interesting thing, but feeling into where you're codependent, okay, in your life in some capacity, what you're codependent on, if it's a codependency, you're going to be irritated by it. It could be a relationship, but it could also be how you've learned to respond to people in your relationships, right? So it's a little bit more complex than just a black and white, but you get to take whatever resonates with you and be like, yeah, this is really irritating me. Let's look at that. Let's feel into that. What is that for me? Can I observe myself and recognize what's bothering me, what's really truly bothering me deep down? It's a gift, even though it feels really uncomfortable. How do we shift out of codependency, right? How do we shift out of that feeling that we get from the codependency, that uncomfortable feeling, that irritation, that whatever it is, that unease, that whatever makes us reactive or what have you? How do we get out of that? Well, we use our sensitivity. Our sensitivity, I know, especially if you've been sensitive your whole life like me, you've been made to feel like your sensitivity is a bad thing. Oh, you're too sensitive. You need to heal that. But my sensitivity is a gift. Let me tell you, it's very visceral at times, but it tells me what's for me and what isn't. And if you can use that sensitivity as a homing beacon and embrace it and be like, okay, my sensitivity is, I'm sensitive to whatever this is right now. I'm sensitive to this experience. I'm sensitive to this person or their expression. I'm sensitive to this environment. I'm sensitive to this job or the environment at my job or the people at my job, whatever it is, right? You get to realize, okay, and here's the thing. It's not about, because for some, it's okay about kind of detaching a little bit from that and creating the space you need and moving out of that comfort zone. But sometimes it's a perception shift and sometimes it's a shift in responsibility. So for me, I kind of talked about it a little bit in one of the first videos where it's like I was feeling a lot of like reactive energies from people, that it felt so personal to me because of the way that I was in childhood, where I was made to feel responsible for everyone. I took on this role that it's my job to make everyone happy. And the funny thing is I irritate people more when I'm in my innocence and I have no idea that I'm irritating people than I am when I'm actually in like full, like firm mode. Like I'm channeling something really intense and it's hard for people to hear. Like I actually trigger people more. But what I realized, like, okay, I'm really sensitive to their reactions to me. And that's, yes, because of my childhood wounding, but also because I think I'm responsible for that reaction. And here's where we're going to get into part 3 in a moment, because it's a flow, right? It's an absolute flow of energy, and it happens in cycles, so use your sensitivity. What are you really sensitive to right now? And what is it telling you about yourself? And maybe what you need to shift inside of you. And you don't always have to change for other people. It's not about changing for other people. It's about changing for you. What do you need to shift and change for yourself? But using your sensitivity as a means of telling you what's energetically serving you or not, what really needs to shift out of your peripheral, is such a huge game changer right now. And I hope that it helps. The third phase of this cycle, which is really truly opening you up to the gift of attunement. And this is all about sacrifice. Sacrificing what you thought you knew about yourself, what you thought you knew about others, what you thought your role was to play in this world, so that you can open to what's truly in alignment for you. So what you're meant to attune to, if you will, for your highest light and resonance, for your greatest highest good, or whatever that looks like. Sacrificing knowledge when knowledge has served us is a really difficult thing to do. But in that sacrifice, it's almost like when you honor your sensitivity and you reconcile that, you've already sacrificed what you thought you knew. It's just in this last phase, you're acknowledging it and accepting it. Like, okay, maybe this isn't necessarily what I think it is, or maybe I'm not necessarily who I need to be. And in my reconciliation, because my sensitivity always taught me to do things to be safe. Go back in your shell, Candice. You won't irritate anybody that way. Fawn with people, acquiesce to their needs, and then you won't have those reactions from them, and then you'll feel better. In these energies, I'm not doing that. I'm going to continue to put myself out there because I want to express, and how people react to me it's not my responsibility. It's not like, and being able to kind of sacrifice that element of who I thought I was supposed to be for people is not only freeing, but it means that I can actually serve people in a way that's healthy and in alignment for myself and those people. So however it's going to play out for you, you get to just let go of who you thought you were supposed to be in order to really integrate and embody who you really are. You're not here to be anything for anyone. The defined G centers, even those with the defined G center, you are somebody. You're here to be somebody specific, but that doesn't mean that you're cornered into a role of being somebody for people that they want you to be. It's just a very interesting time. So allow yourself to go through the process of recognizing your codependency through your sensitivity and letting that sacrifice anything that you don't need to hang on to. I watched this video the other day, and I wish I had remembered her information. I might have saved it, so if I did, I'll share it later. But she talked about how it's an absolute game changer to let people off the hook. Let them off the hook. Let yourself off the hook. Don't carry that in your heart. You don't need to keep anyone accountable. And even keeping yourself accountable looks very different now. So sacrificing what you thought you knew in order to open up to more and integrate more is a really key component. But because it feels so vulnerable and so raw, it kind of makes it hard. It makes it a little bit harder to engage in. So be gentle with yourself and honor your sensitivity and let it teach you whatever capacity you can handle at this time, and allow and know that your sensitivity is amplified right now, because that's what we're all healing on a collective and global level in some way. Anyways, I hope that these helped, and I'm sending y'all lots of love.